How the people are doing? So, yeah, I've been waiting a very long time to say that, and it has been a painful wait. Yeah, exams can do that to you, but anyways, it's done, and now we can get back to the job at hand. Also, we are starting off with a new device, the X80 Pro, and one of the things that I feel that has been kind of a trend this year is that the smartphones or the flagships that we've been getting, they haven't had anything particularly mind-blowing about them. They've been good, most of them at least, not all of them obviously, but there have been incremental updates for the most part. I think the X80 Pro might be similar to that, but it might also bring some new features on board. But with that in mind, I think we should get to the unboxing first and foremost, because one of the things that has been consistently just incredible about Vivo is that they have some of the absolute best unboxing experience that you can have in any flagship. This is a lot of things that you're getting along with the smartphone, and if you don't have, let's say, a charger, or maybe you want to use wired earphones, I mean, this is just fantastic, right? You do not get this with even flagships that have a higher price tag than the X80 Pro. So that really goes to show how good Vivo's unboxing experience can be, and I really respect them for it. But with that said, I'm not really voice-overing the unboxing experience because, I mean, we already know what we're gonna get. It's just that we get a lot. So yeah, we get a charger, we get good old paperwork, we get a hardcover case, which is just... it's good to see. I don't use cases, but I know that a lot of people like to use them, and the fact that you're getting one for free and you don't have to shell out even more cash on top of a pretty expensive price tag for the smartphone, I think it makes sense, and I think it matters that you get all this. But now, enough about the unboxing experience, let's talk about the smartphone itself. Yes, I did get the black version, and it has that extremely beautiful, silky smooth, just immaculately perfect matte finish. And yes, once again, 2022's, at least the first half's best matte finish, I think the award goes to Vivo, because the moment I touched it, I knew for a fact that yes, we get good matte finishes in, let's say, the iPhone 13 Pro, the S22 Ultra, or even the OnePlus 10 Pro and the Xiaomi 12 Pro. But Vivo's matte finish, it is a notch above all of those, and you can really feel it. And there's also the fact that it is fingerprint immune. Quite literally, no fingerprints will ever stay on the smartphone. And I mean, I know this because not only am I using this right now and there are no fingerprints here, even against such a bright light you can see nothing, which is honestly kind of crazy to think about, but there's also the fact that whenever I'm taking B-roll, any smartphone that I've ever used always requires a cloth. I have to just rub it down, make sure it's clean, otherwise you're gonna see all these fingerprints on camera, and no one likes that, of course. But not the case for this one. I've taken some B-roll already, and yeah, this looks good. But since we are on the topic already, let's talk about the rest of the design. So first and foremost, this camera module. Now this is something I have mixed opinions about. I feel like it's a bit too big and a bit too scattered, because we have this pretty neat circle and all the cameras are not inside it, because I can clearly see that we have the periscope zoom lens outside the circle, and it kind of makes the circle moot. I don't know, it feels a little haphazard, and I'm not exactly on board with this design. It doesn't look bad, but in my opinion at least, I think the X70 Pro Plus from last year, it had a better design. But on the front, well, it's a very classic flagship design that we have really come to know and love at this point. Curved edges, love it, hate it, that's up to you. I personally don't mind them. And then we also have the punch hole design and pretty thin bezels. One of the things that I noticed immediately after I switched it on and was setting it up, the bezels looked a little bit thick, at least to my eyes. So I compared it to the S22 Ultra, and indeed they are. It's very minor, and if you don't see it side by side, you're not going to notice the difference between, let's say, the S22 Ultra and this one, but they are thicker. It's important that you know that. So now then, the display. And one of the things that, I noticed this immediately, the fingerprint scanner. Jeez. Now this is a huge step forward, believe me, when I say it. Like, the fact that we have such a huge area for the fingerprint scanner, that's a massive leap compared to every other smartphone that we have had thus far. At least, Android smartphones that we have had thus far with in-display fingerprint scanners. Because having this huge area means that the inaccurate scans, because of just wrong finger placements, it goes down by a huge amount. Like I can just unlock this without even looking at it, and that is massive. It's just such an amazing feature to have, and I know I'm gushing over it, but trust me, you don't get this in any other smartphone. And the fact that this one's fingerprint scanner is so fast and so accurate that it just blows everything else out the water. And I'm saying that after just using it for a day. So with that in mind, also by the way, when you're setting up the fingerprint scanner, it takes literally 1 second. A single scan of your finger is all it takes to scan the entire thing, and that's quite nice, honestly, because setting up fingerprints can be annoying sometimes. But anyways, now let's talk about the display itself. We get 1500 nits of peak brightness, so good for HDR, already has HDR 10 plus certification. And yes, HDR works properly. That's one of the first things that I checked. On Netflix and Amazon Prime, we get proper HDR instead of the weird issue that we had before, but that's all gone now. And with that in mind, we also get 1440p 120Hz, so it's a very good display, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not breaking any boundaries, like it doesn't have 2000 nits peak brightness or anything like that, just saying, but it is a very good flagship display that is definitely not going to disappoint anybody out there. And now then for the cameras. So despite the weird module design, I would say that this has very promising cameras, because we get a 50 megapixel main camera. And speaking from the pure experience of the X70 Pro Plus from last year, I can almost guarantee that this camera is going to be extremely stylistic and extremely impressive at that. Now of course, camera comparisons will tell the entire story here, so definitely subscribe for those. But otherwise, we get a 48 megapixel ultra wide, and this is the impressive stuff. So we have the gimbal OIS once again, and the night shots that you can get with this OIS enabled, at least for the X70 Pro Plus, I remember them being the best in any smartphone. And if it's anything like that, this is going to be the best ultra wide you can get for night photography in any smartphone. Now how the processing works and all that, again, camera comparisons will tell us the full story, but otherwise we get a 2x telephoto that's mostly for portraits, and in my experience it has done some good job in the previous version, so I'm really hoping that it's the same story here, if not better. And then a disappointing 5x periscope zoom. Now disappointing because it's the same thing that we had last year. 8 megapixel periscope zoom, a small sensor, it just feels subpar, and definitely something I had hoped Vivo would improve, but they haven't. And yeah, I don't know why they keep sticking around with this 5x zoom, because the fact that its sensor is so low quality compared to many other 5x zooms that we have in other smartphones, like let's say the Xiaomi 12 Pro for example. Incredible 5x zoom on that, and I can tell you without even looking at any samples, this phone's 5x periscope zoom will not compare to that one. It's pretty obvious. The sensor difference will speak volumes when we go to the camera comparisons, of course, but there are many other things about this smartphone. The processing, the stylistic approaches to many of the photography modes, including night mode. And well, if you know anything about me and the fact that I'm basically in love with night mode styles that Vivo has, it's one of the most creative things that I've seen in a camera app. And it's a very simple thing that they do, but it can give you such incredible images that I'm just a huge fan of it. But anyways, the camera, we can't really draw any conclusions here. The camera comparisons are going to tell us exactly how good these are compared to all the other cameras that we have and all the other smartphones. And so definitely subscribe for those if you're interested. You can check out some of the other camera comparisons that I've done on the channel already, like the S22 Ultra, a little bit about the OnePlus 10 Pro and the Xiaomi 12 Pro as well. anyways, let's move on to performance and battery life. I mean, no surprise, it is going to be good. This is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. We have 4700 mAh of battery. I wish it was 5000 because, 5000 is at this point the flagship level battery life that you're supposed to get. That's not to say that, the battery on the X80 Pro is going to be bad, but nonetheless, if there are any significant drawbacks in terms of battery, I'll let you guys know in the review. But for now, I don't think it's going to disappoint in either regard. Also, tying up with the performance, we have the operating system. It is FunTouch OS here. And other than the name, I would say that FunTouch OS is one of the best operating systems that I've ever used. Simply because it has customizability unlike most flagships you can get. I mean, this one's customizability rivals that of what you can get from Samsung's One UI with good lock and all that stuff. If you know about any of that, you know that that's very high praise for FunTouch OS because indeed, customizability is very good on this phone. So anyways, that about wraps it up for this first impressions video that we have here. And well, it looks really good. Camera comparisons are most definitely going to be just incredible. And well, I'll be seeing you guys then. And by the way, the first camera comparison is actually going to be between the Xiaomi 12 Pro and the S20 Ultra. I've already got some samples for that, so that's going to come out first. And then we'll jump right into the deep end with the X80 Pro. So subscribe if you aren't ready, drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll be seeing you guys then. Cheers!